One night, the moon doesn't look right. A thin crack cuts across its surface. Then another, and another. No sound, no warning, just a broken white giant hanging above Earth. Within hours, the pieces begin to separate, not exploding, not falling at once, just slowly tearing apart while every ocean on Earth starts to move. It has been there for 4.5 billion years, a silent sentinel, a gravitational anchor. We call it the moon, but we rarely truly see it. We treat it like a porch light, always on, always predictable, always there. We write poems about romance. Werewolves howl at it, lovers kiss under it. But we have forgotten that this rock is not a decoration, it is a leash, a tourniquet keeping this planet from bleeding out into chaos. So let's ask the question that belongs in the darkest corner of your mind. A question for freakish thoughts. What happens if the moon breaks apart? Not drifting away, not vanish, breaks, cracks like an egg, shatters into a billion frozen shards, orbiting our atmosphere like broken glass in a washing machine. Spoiler alert, it is not a slow apocalypse. It is a cascade of horrors that begins with beauty and ends with a planet that no longer recognizes itself. Let's walk through the ruin. To understand the disaster, you must first understand the addiction. Earth is addicted to the moon. Think of Earth and Luna not as two separate objects, but as a binary system, a married couple locked in a dance so perfect that one cannot survive without the other's gravity. The moon is 1/4 the size of Earth. That's abnormally large for a satellite. Most moons are tiny potatoes. Ours is a titan. And because of that mass, it does 3 critical things for us. First, the tides. You know this. The moon pulls the oceans. High tide, low tide. But you think that's just about beaches and surfing. No. The tides are the heartbeat of the planet. They flush estuaries, mix nutrients, and drive ocean currents that regulate global temperatures. Without that rhythmic pull, the oceans don't stop moving. They just stop behaving. Second, the axis. Earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees. That tilt gives us seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. That tilt exists because the moon acts as a gyroscopic stabilizer. It holds our planetary wobble in check. Without the moon, Earth would wobble like a dying top. Over millennia, the tilt could swing from 0 degrees, no seasons at all, to 85 degrees, where the poles point almost directly at the sun. Third, the spin. The moon is slowly stealing Earth's rotational energy. That's why our days get longer by 1.8 milliseconds every century, painfully slow. But if the moon goes away or breaks, that braking effect stops abruptly. The consequences are not subtle. So when we ask, what happens if the moon breaks apart? What we are really asking is, what happens when the stabilizer is ripped off a moving vehicle at highway speed? The answer is no collision. The answer is recalibration. And recalibration is just a polite word for extinction. Let's picture the break itself. Something violent happens. Maybe a rogue planetesimal slams into it. Maybe the core of the moon suddenly cools and contracts too fast, like a cold glass shattering under hot water. The crust fractures. Deep chasms spiderweb across the surface. And then, silence gives way to thunder. The moon breaks, not into dust, into chunks, massive kilometer-wide hunks of rock, smaller gravel, a fine regolith mist. The debris field expands outward in a glowing ring like Saturn's rings, but built from the corpse of our only satellite. For the first few hours, it's beautiful. A second dawn. Shattered moonstone catching sunlight, scattering pale rainbows across the night sky. People will film it. They will call it a miracle. They won't know they are watching their own death sentence. Here is what happens next. First, the tidal waves don't stop. They stutter. The gravitational pull of the moon is now uneven because the mass is spreading out. Some debris is closer to Earth, pulling harder. Some are farther away. The oceans don't know which way to bulge. You get rogue tidal waves. Not the predictable surging of a tsunami. Random walls of water rising in the middle of the Atlantic 300 meters high with no earthquake to warn you. Coastal cities don't just flood, they are erased. Second, the orbital debris becomes a meteor shower that never ends. Most of the moon's mass is still bound by gravity for a while, but over weeks and months, chunks decay. They fall into Earth's gravity well. You think a shooting star is pretty? Imagine a shooting star the size of Manhattan. The impacts would be global, each one kicking up dust, blocking the sun, triggering firestorms. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was 10 kilometers wide. Some chunks of the broken moon would be larger, but the real horror is slower, more existential, more. 1 year after the break, assuming humanity survived the impacts, and that's a generous assumption, we face a new enemy, the axis. Without the moon's stabilizing gravity, Earth begins to wobble. James Webb is not needed to see this. You will feel it in your bones. The tilt changes, not overnight but over decades, fast enough that agriculture cannot adapt. The equatorial regions become uninhabitable deserts, the poles become tropical jungles, then freezing wastes again as the wobble continues. Seasons become a roulette wheel. You could have winter in July and summer in December, or no summer at all for 10 years. Crops fail everywhere, not because of drought or flood, but because plants evolved to expect a predictable photoperiod, the length of daylight. When the tilt shifts, a seed planted in Iowa suddenly finds itself in 24-hour darkness for 3 months, then 24-hour sunlight. That doesn't grow wheat, that grows chaos. And the oceans, they don't just have rogue waves, they have stalled currents. The Gulf Stream, the conveyor belt that warms Europe, is driven in part by tidal mixing. Without the moon's consistent pull, the thermohaline circulation collapses. Europe freezes, Canada freezes, the southern hemisphere bakes, the planet's heat distribution breaks like a bad radiator. But here is the darkest thought, the one that keeps planetary scientists awake: the rings. Because not all the moon's debris will fall to Earth. Some of it will settle into a stable ring system. Beautiful, yes, icy, glittering rings like Saturn. But Saturn's rings are mostly water ice. The moon's rings will be pulverized basalt, nickel, iron, and radioactive dust from the lunar crust. That dust will drift down through the atmosphere over centuries, a slow, silent rain of fine particulate. It will coat glaciers, turning them dark. Dark glaciers absorb heat, melt faster, raise sea levels another 100 meters. It will fill our lungs. Lunar dust is sharp, volcanic glass sharp. Inhale it and your alveoli bleed. And at night, those rings will cast a pale, fragmented shadow. No more full moon, no more silver light, just a cracked halo above a dying world. You want to know what changes forever if the moon breaks apart? The answer is everything that makes Earth, Earth. The tides become a memory. The word spring tide becomes a fossil in linguistic amber. No more lunar eclipses. No more calendars based on lunar months. Islam, Judaism, Buddhism all lose a celestial clock. The concept of a month becomes an orphaned abstraction. Navigation changes. Every ship captain, every sea turtle, every bird that migrates by moonlight dies confused. The night sky becomes a carnival of destruction, not a guide. The length of the day changes permanently. Without the moon's braking effect, Earth's rotation speeds up. Days get shorter, not dramatically, but over a century, a 24-hour day becomes a 22-hour day. The human circadian rhythm, tuned to 24 hours, rebels. Sleep disorders become universal. Mental illness spikes. The biological clock of every living thing is now wrong. And the axial wobble. In a few thousand years, you could stand at the North Pole and see the sun directly overhead. Then, a few thousand years later, the same spot is in perpetual darkness. Human civilization, built on predictable seasons, does not survive that. We become nomads again, chasing a stable climate that no longer exists. But maybe the most haunting change is psychological. For 4 billion years, Every animal that crawled onto land, every hominid that looked up, every poet, every scientist, every child who pointed at the sky, all of them saw the moon. It is the second oldest story we tell after the sun. The moon is the first other, the first proof that we are not alone in the sky. When it breaks, we become a people without an anchor, a species that lost its oldest friend to violence, and no new moon will ever replace it. So here is the final freakish thought. We worry about asteroids, we worry about nuclear war, we worry about AI, but the moon breaking apart is worse than all of them, because it is not an invasion, it is not an enemy, it is a divorce from nature itself. The moon does not just hang there, it holds us. It keeps our oceans honest, our axis steady, our nights navigable. It is the unsung hero of every harvest, every tide pool, every child who sleeps through a mild winter because the tilt holds. If it breaks, we do not just lose a rock, we lose the rhythm of the world. And without rhythm, there is only noise. Without the moon, there is only darkness. Do not wish for this. Do not test it. Do not ignore the leash that keeps this planet sane, because the moon is not a light bulb you can screw back in. It is a bone in the spine of the earth, and if it breaks, we fall with it.
I'll be back.